My name is Elaine Mason. I work for Inspiring Scotland. Um, and one of my jobs there, because you never have one job in a charity, is heading up the Specialist Volunteer Network. And I've been doing that for the last 9 years, so it's really, really rewarding. So what we do is we match volunteers, their professional skill sets, individuals, teams, with charities that are in need of those professional skill sets. And it's really, really rewarding. I have more high five days than I did in 28 years of financial services, which is what I did. However, it gives me great pleasure to talk to three people who have benefited from the volunteers from the Scottish Tech Army. And I prepared a little bit, which was just about that it can be a really daunting, an unfamiliar area when you're wanting some tech help. You have to have some tech help because the backdrop of the charity sector at the moment is there's not enough time in the day. Funding environment really slowing down. Demand from service users going up. We talked earlier about productivity, but you can't. How do you're already probably working 24 hours in the day to try and service your growing service user base. So one of the things that you can use is a bit of technology. And quite often with when I'm speaking to charities about what they want, there's a bit of translation has to go on because they know what they want the end to look like, but they can't name it. And they certainly can't probably name it to the volunteer. And I think with technology, we were chatting earlier, Larry, you were saying we couldn't name the bit of tech that we wanted, but we know what the tech solution, what we wanted it to deliver, which is basically trying to, cope with more and more service users. And it's definitely not apps as well, because we get quite often asked for, can you build me an app? I obviously, signpost to the Scottish Tech Army, but usually when it gets there, it's not an app that's needed, as we've just heard. So without further ado, I would like my fellow panelists just to talk about how they took the plunge and contacted the Scottish Tech Army and asked for support, and specifically that scary thing about anything digital. And Elizabeth, I'd like to start with you, because chocolates, these chocolates for change, which is a brilliant strapline on your website. So just quickly talk to us about your digital problem and how STA helped with the transition.
We initially contacted STA during the pandemic, of course, lots of people did, but essentially, as Elaine just said, we had a social enterprise who made chocolate, and the social enterprise that is that women, somebody that actually spend time with us in the kitchen making chocolate, and we deliver some programs alongside that. Obviously, that involves coming to a physical space, so that during the pandemic, that wasn't going to happen. But there was we really understood that we needed to keep in contact with the women that we were supporting. And so that was the point at which we contacted STA to basically see what can we do. And so as a result of that, then we've been asked questions that essentially is as open as that, I think, just to say what can we do to make sure that our services can get online, that we can keep in contact with them. And that's basically what we did. We started with a bit of a blank page. What was your solution? So we looked at what we could deliver, essentially. So we provided equipment to have access to people, sort of temporary laptops or decent phones that would support what we were doing. And one of the things I will say about having a volunteer that knew what they were doing was that maybe we go and do what we need to do, which was make what we deliver something that we translate into an online service. So essentially volunteering helped us to work out what to do with the actual physical equipment as well. So we had tablets going to some people, laptops. We needed to make sure that they were secure. We needed to make sure that it had the right stuff on it, that all they had to do was literally one press the buttons that we told them to press, so that we would be there supporting them. We didn't believe that neither ourselves or a lot of the women that we support would want anything more complicated than that. And I think breaking that down was really important so that it wasn't that would actually just be another barrier to access living in things that we have just very, for example, so it means secures child locks, things like that. And looking at more, we could monitor it, not to monitor what people were doing, but making sure that people were we were making people more vulnerable by something making them more accessible, because we work with very vulnerable women. So just we were able to deliver services online on safe and thinking that good quality and safe.
I think that's the important point. See, just thinking properly about all the different aspects of safety. I think a big concern here is service users that be quite free. Interesting. Thank you, Elizabeth. Harvey, I'm going to come to you next to talk about the project that you asked for and then what it ended up being. And then also maybe just to talk just a little bit about your organisation. And maybe I was kind of shocked I should know this, but to find out that the young carers that you work with are all under 25.
Yeah, so I think the reason I'm on this panel is because I'm a repeat user. Sort of, some do getting there, and I'm sure on the
Good way.
sorry, I'm in the good way. So I'm chief executive at 5 Young Carers, which is basically an office, and we have this fantastic opportunity with SDA to work with Johnson Group. I've been Tech Alliance project, and that's absolute magic, and I can talk about that. But just to wind back slightly, prior to this job, I was chief exec at a veterans charity based at Stirling Castle, and we had 30 years worth of data on an MS Access database, and we had this cunning idea that we could turn this into a global map, and there'd be a pin in the map, the place where all of these soldiers were born. I can see it's and because we were stuck in Stirling Castle, and that actually the army travels around the world. So there's a sort of diaspora, and we wanted to engage with people who had had contact with this Scottish regiment over centuries. So we were struggling. We attracted a lot of visitors. We had 250,000 visitors to our museum, but not many of the people who were actually kind of stakeholders were really engaged with us. And I think, I don't know how much part you played in it, but it was quite a piece of work to try and translate this really clunky database that had numerous people inputting into something that was coherent, and the project is starting from retrospect to launch. But currently, as I said, 5 Young Carers. So having had the experience of STA previously, I just felt that our whole digital approach was really weak, and our website really did not represent the extraordinary work that we do. So we support 1,000 young carers from age from 5, which is 5 years old, up to 35 years old. We've got an unpaid caring role, and our staff are in front of 28,000 people, young people, every year. And the website was just rubbish. So I went to STA and said, look, the website's really rubbish, can you help? And then it has grown into this extraordinary. I always think of, I don't know if you've seen Back to the Future, and Marty is this really naive guy, and there's Doc, who's this complete brainiac. And I feel a bit like Marty strapped into the DeLorean and then zooming off, powered by the guys at Johnson Group, who are doing a most fantastic job introducing us, because we're completely non-tech savvy at all, and exposing us to the fact that our social media marketing plan needs to be sorted out. Our website actually probably doesn't need to do what we thought it needed to do. And there are other really key areas that tech can help us, for example, get more exposure in schools and some of the intranet within schools. So it's actually changing our strategy, which I didn't really. I thought I'd nailed it by noting that our digital offering was weak, but actually what's happening is the next iteration of our strategy is going to evolve because of this work that we're trying to do. So thank you guys for help.
That's continuing.
I'm continuing.
More chapters in that book. So, and finally, Tony from Dress Code, which is all techie.
So
feeling.
I'm a computer science teacher, and I suppose like the whole a bit about dress code is to try and close the gender gap in computing science. So we know that there's a big, huge gap at industry level, but then that's actually mirrored at school level. So we're trying to do it from the grass roots up, to be honest. And like yourself, I'm a repeat customer as well, go back often. And so 2 big projects that they've really helped, like instrumental, as in it wouldn't have happened, like I wouldn't have been able to do it myself. So dress code, like say I'm the finder, but it's just all of my spare time, so it's not my job, I don't get any money for it, like it's just something I'm really passionate about. So that in itself is really, really difficult. Just trying to find the time. But 2 challenges we came, a big part of, I don't know if you have got any children or know people like in schools right now, but you'll know that the tech's quite dated in schools. And being a computer science teacher, of course, most of the stuff is online. And there's a period where class will finish and then the new class will come in and they'll log on, but it takes time for the computers to just kind of switch. So it's a whole thing. But of course, you need to try and keep kids engaged. And I was finding a lot of the time when I was in the classroom, like the resources and I'd put in really in like great lesson starters, particularly bridging the gap between industry and education. So having role models and showcase of all the great stuff that's in Scotland. But then in my current role, where I'm now a co-lead of a new organisation which is pushing it out nationally. So what we found was I couldn't just give my slides and my starters to the world, and because everybody would start at a different place. So I needed some sort of platform to put these lesson starters so it was accessible and really easy to use for each individual teacher, no matter where they started. And so I kind of knew what I wanted. But yeah, they honestly, Scottish Tech Army just blown it out of the water. Like, so I came with a solution. I was like, well, it's look like this. And yeah, they totally ripped it up and was like, no, you actually want this. So it was amazing. And it's up and it's live. And then they would take it and run with it and added so many other features that I genuinely never even thought of that are going to be so great for teachers, such as like being able to plan a calendar of events ahead of time and things like that. Because teachers, we're really, we don't have a lot of time. So that was amazing. And then the other project, which is just incredible, is a big part of dress code. Again, I don't know how much you know, but computer science isn't 100% fail. We've got the worst uptake, the largest gender gap, the least amount of teachers. So there's a lot of problems that probably makes sense if you're in the tech sector and you realise that there's a talent shortage. It's coming from the pipeline at the school. So a big part of what we do is to champion and advocate to make it a core subject and make equity of access for all pupils, and just at least have the opportunity to decide whether it's something they like. And right now that's not happening. But to tell that story, you need the data. And so if anybody's ever looked, the SKA, they produce the annual reports every year of uptake and gender per subject per year. Now, computer science has been around as long as I've been alive, so it started in 1986. But if you look at the data, it's a spreadsheet for every single subject, for every single year, every gender, both genders across multiple spreadsheets. So what I started to do was pull out all this data of computing science, and it was just numbers. And it was really hard to kind of tell that story and champion and tell the landscape of computing science. And then so to make the story stronger, I started comparing it with STEM subjects like chemistry, biology, maths, and so on. But again, it was just numbers. I was like, I can't show this to someone, and I can't articulate it without showing something better. And nothing really existed. So I went to Scottish Tech Army, and what they've done is just amazing. So it's a fully interactive data visualization dashboard. I was like, just want to uptake in gender. But again, very much true to the style of Scottish Tech Army, they take it and run and like, actually, could we do this? So they've now been able to give teacher census numbers, like the data around, it's all public data, but it's just putting it into this really amazing platform, of which it's not out yet, but it's come in. But it's actually going to be really beneficial for STEM subjects as well, not just computing. And then the other highlight is it's actually a finalist for the British Data Awards as well, which is awesome. But both projects I wouldn't have been able to do at all without having that instrument available. So yeah, like hugely grateful.
So I've got a couple of questions.
Yeah, when you go, sorry, that was a lot.
Right, so I really like this. You contact the Scottish Tech Army and you say what you want and then they rip it up. You say that's not actually what you need, but I think that's good because they're giving you a solution that you can actually use.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're talking about data visualization, Inspired's has massive amount of data. So we did this little experiment pre-COVID, and we gave it a whole bunch of take case. So and what they did was amazing. In 2.5 hours, they took all our data. They even managed to put a Pavarotti video in one of the sort of like talking about one of our data sets. I have to say that we're not using the stuff that they showed us because we don't have capacity within our comms team. We've only got 2 IT guys that are completely overworked. So the question is, one, you have to interact and use your precious capacity. So you put your ask in, and then the volunteers are coming up and going, no, this is what you need. But you need to give them time, your time, which is already really precious, all 3 of you. And then the secondary question is, once you've got the shiny and bright solution, you need to use it. Again, that's probably a bit of time, training your staff and making them familiar with maybe.
No, it's just me.
Well, you'll be familiar, but if you've got staff, making them familiar, getting them to use the tools that have been created. It's kind of 2 questions. Your time to help the team, and the second one is, it's not on the shelf. You actually need to use it. So you are if you want to jump in.
Certainly, in terms of my time, so I'm relatively new in post, and I'm still at the stage of trying to work out, does our strategy fit with our business plan? So it's all coherent. So actually, the planning time that we're spending on website, social media, market planning, all this stuff is really, really valuable to me. So and also we've got a staff kind of 35, 40, but I'm the only one with commercial experience. So it's really valuable to me to talk business to people who have experience of business directly. And also, I suppose the third thing is that it's useful because previously we've got a website built in an organization, and we were just given a product to use the website. And I had no idea what the background to it was. I didn't really make enough, as it turns out, enough decisions. Whereas now we're party to the conversation, not the really sound some that, but the sort of some of the decisions that we're going to go left, right, which way we're going to navigate around this. I'm party to that. And that's really, really valuable to me because I can understand where we're heading, why we're heading, why we're not going this other direction, with how to. So our basic problem is there's about 6,000 young carers in Fife, and we have 1,000 of them in service, and we've got a staff of 35. And so how do we help the other 5,000 people? So that's where I say the strategy piece comes in, is that if we can use tech to give our services to people who can access them or who are reluctant to access us physically, then that really helps me to do my job. And understanding how the tech is working and the decisions that are made really helps me, because then I can look at my staff and say, well, actually, you're doing the wrong stuff. We're going to rejig your job description, or we need to go out and try and fund another post for marketing comms or whatever it is. So being able to see the sort of background working is not at all arduous to me because I can sacrifice some of the things that I might be frankly wasting time because it's hard.
Yeah, I think, again, we didn't have to invest very much time to begin with, and I think, as I said before, we got to spend our time doing what we're good at, the kind of work and saying, encourage women to keep in touch with us. But what it did do very quickly was that we realised that we could do a lot more men, because it wouldn't necessarily be we wouldn't have felt safe delivering our services online prior to being told that it was safe to be, so prior to having that sort of really in-depth conversation about it being safe and worthwhile. So now 3 of our 2.5 of our core services are delivered online. So we're now where we were working with people in Stirling before, we're now working with people in Mercury and Dordrecht and lots of other, and we have volunteers who work with us from these areas as well. So our capacity grew without us having to invest any time or extra resources because of that, because of somebody else to say this is now you do it. But one of the other projects that we've been on with you certainly is about how we record our stats, because it's sort of appalling, that we've never quite worked out how we record our impact and how we get that in one place, in that language. And we were spending a lot of time trying to work that out, basic knowledge of whether it was Excel spreadsheets or whether it was some other thing that we knew about from other worlds, but we weren't doing it well. And for somebody else just to come and say, this is how to do it, and you will all have to learn how to do it, but it's quick to learn. But this stops all that time that we were wasting discussing it, thinking about it, trying to work out if it was the right thing or not, getting it wrong, being frustrated with it, having another meeting about it, having somebody that just could think about that away from everything else and then just say, this is something, saves so much time, but we feel more confident in things.
Yeah, and I'm sure that would help with funding applications.
100%. You see that good. So, and then it's better information we're giving, actually. It's better as well as as well as knowing, feeling confident in it, we actually feel it's better.
Yeah, because I think with
No, you're fine.
I do this.
No, you're going to do it.
So with over 25,000 charities in Scotland, I think with the help of the Scottish Tech Army, you've got a really great advantage over some of the other charities because you've now got data, you can show how your service is actually delivering, you've maybe got greater scope, etc., valuation, case studies, all of that good stuff. Funders love it. Well, yeah, so yeah, and it is competitive, but we were actually in the sector as well. So
no, it's and I think ours, it's although we're not training up a city that teachers, the Scottish Tech Army did a great job speaking with computer science teachers and hearing what they type, which was great. So again, very similar to what Harvey was saying, being involved in that process of does this work? Would you like this? And yeah, that's been really, really rewarding. And then on the bigger picture of actually making this raising awareness of the subject and giving a vehicle for industry to actually play a big part and feed right in directly to lessons, it's huge for us as well. So yeah, it's been amazing.
Just a question that's just occurred to me as well. So most of the Tech Army volunteers, Jan, on load are from corporates. Not all of them. Okay, right. We'll just go, I'll rephrase. So the volunteers that are from corporates, and maybe the other volunteers as well, do you think that there's been a kapow moment with them that suddenly they've understood the really tough job that you are doing and the third sector as well? And the one thing when I came to financial services and came into the third sector was like, geez, talking about business plan. So in the financial sector, you've got a business plan, 2-3 years. You can look at, your potential demand and your supply. In the third sector, you can do that for a year because a lot of funding is only for a year. If you're lucky, you've got 3-year funding. So did you find that, yes, they were delivering this wonderful tech solution, but there was also quite a lot of what you're doing in the third sector and understanding of the social issues that you were addressing that rubbed off from both teams?
I think from our point of view, it's definitely it's communicate that message that a lot of people just aren't aware of the landscape side of things. And I think there's definitely that moment you see on a basis that's why we're struggling to get Cali. And I think that for us that's been great. Although it's not it's not solving the problem, it's raising awareness. I think it's a huge part because you need to talk about the problem in order to come together to solve it. And there's not a tool like it as well, which is again speaks volumes to the Scottish Tech Army. Literally created something that doesn't exist and is going to be used really widely. So I've shared it with a lot of people, and the feedback has been enormous. So I think it's something that's just huge. And as trainer from my point, I've learned a lot about it, how to keep that going, and because we want to maintain it. It's not just a one and done job.
Good. So any change in your interaction with volunteers, corporate underlooking?
Yeah, I think probably in the beginning, it really just creates a bit of enthusiasm, getting it going and getting it right. I think but just when you ask that, I get reflect to myself. Actually, I probably don't feel different that sense as the impact that you're going to. It was I on when the either services or team or whatever it is. So that's a bit of a lesson for me to sort of get that right across at the beginning. But certainly in the beginning, you could hear those discussions of why we're doing it. It was, you could get that kind of data that would be.
Yeah, so we had a last meeting for yesterday. And we did a little bit of that. So what are you getting out of this? What are we getting out of this sort of thing? I mean, Glenn, I mean, I don't know how far we got with that. Because one of the things we wanted to do, or you wanted us to do, was to categorize the young people by age group and what's their day look like, how do they interact, who do they interact with. So it became quite explicit that these are the people, and this is what their lives are like. Hour by hour, we're discussing that a young person can get up at 6 o'clock and wash mum or clear up after dad eats, drug problem, whatever. It was really explicit in what the actual problem was. I don't know if that had any impact.
Well, you really, I think we started a lot of questions. You had a lot of data. And you take the thing for us is you can reach. Said you on a website, but you were open to needs. And when we started getting issues, it was if 6,000 young carers like sorry, we want to reach them. So we started to bullet that thread. How can we reach those people? What are they doing? And then broke down into age. What are they doing in each age? But then how do we talk to them? Is somebody who's 5 years old really going to be using Facebook? Probably not. It's somebody who's 13 going to be on Instagram? Probably. So how do we start teasing each of those things really kind of exploratory exercise? But it takes commitment, I think. And then on your side of things, we go away to do great work. We come back together and we hit the ground running again. Start building a whole week film.
I mean, it was really collaborative because we're a bunch of youth workers, really. And so if you give us a task, we love a task. So, and one of the questions was, well, can you do a survey of the young people and find out what they use on social media or how they contact us? So we did that. It took us 10 days. We got 75 replies. And that sort of data then fed straight into the next meeting. So what I enjoyed about it was sort of you can feel the pace this is actually going to go. In fairness, the previous project that we did, other than seeing Gigi, I haven't actually introduced myself, but we didn't actually meet any. We weren't up and online. We weren't present for the discussions. And it was a huge conference project, so a lot of it we wouldn't have needed to know. But the face-to-face discussion, it's very different. I find it really fun as well.
Okay, right. So here's a really difficult question, especially something Joanne can discuss as well. What value would you put on the support that you got from Scottish Take? We asked this question to all the volunteers that helped through the specialist volunteering. We're never maybe I had one answer this year. Because someone actually went out and found out how much it would cost them to get the expert, if you like, parachuted into their organisation. So they knew. But every time I ask, and I'm not expecting you to know how much it would be. You just know it's transformational.
What things you do is try and place trustees things, and you're not supposed to that. Thanks. What I realised is that boards don't have people with all of the skills. Even if you do the whole exercise, this is strategy and this is still metrics and this is what it just doesn't work that way. But actually having a trusted organisation kind of at the table means that whole tech piece is counterkey.
Yeah.
And also I didn't have to go to the board and say, I've got this £40,000 project. Is that all right?
As far as would be a no here.
Right. And even if it was a qualified yes, it would take 6 to 9 months. There's several board meetings to get through this. And in this instance, and in the previous project, I told them what I was doing because I feel the duty to say this is what I'm spending my time doing. But actually, until it reaches fruition, the board doesn't really have to get involved because I haven't really committed a lot of resources. As long as it fits the strategy and it's not a completely tangential thing that you're trying to do. From a board perspective, I do feel that that's a lot of value.
I'm going to use that. Sorry. Frankly, thank you very much. Experience. My side hustle. Yeah, you get in there with having flavor. I can just look about answering. I think so. They'd be able to get something off the ground with it. Yeah, and then you would never, no one has, using your example, £14,000 sitting around. They're coming from reserves. Reserves are already being used, but to fund a funding gap. Yeah, so that would be a tough ask, which would end in a no, I think.
One thing I should say as well is that we were saying that we would have to buy something at the end. Actually, very quickly off the bat said you got all something to be so okay. So that was reassuring to me. There's that odd team, but we all like.
Yeah, which was one thing I learned today. It's always good to learn, that you also are looking for zero cost for that maintenance part afterwards, which is ideal and again vital to the equation.
Mm-hmm. I think like on that point as well, like I wasn't aware that as a charity get access to so much stuff like through like the Amazon River Chicago, but yeah, and I had no idea that that even existed, and so like that's just such a honest, and it's not like someone's trying to sell you something. They genuinely care, and then they definitely raise so much awareness of things that I didn't know that we were kind of able to get access to as well, which is amazing for us as well. Something we didn't know, which is great. But yeah, and I think for us, it's like genuinely interesting. Like it wouldn't have happened. We're not a big charity, paying charity millions, don't have the skills to do it. So yeah, it would have happened.
It's good to hear. Jana, do we have time for questions or not? I don't know. These guys eating and doing something. Does anyone of you feel?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I want what you've got. And I know that's what I want to ask the Scottish Technology to help me with, because we're a charity in York and North Yorkshire. We've been there since 1833. Very successful as a charity. Changed massively over time. And we have masses and masses of data, spreadsheets everywhere. Can I get to a target audience to know? Do they need how many people we've done specialised writing for between the ages of 10 to 20? It's different when you're 20. How many people with glaucoma have we treated with such and such a... And they go through and the team are like, well, we can find those numbers for you, but don't really know. And I've got masses and masses of spreadsheets, and everybody that I ask goes, you need a CRM, and it's going to cost you this amount of money. And I go, well, I can't do that. We'll stick to spreadsheet. And it just goes round this horrific circle.
That's the situation we had. So we had this really valuable data.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is massive pile of data. And I went to Scottish Technology, I'm like, oh, we've got your files. Where's the massive data?
Yeah.
They immediately sorted it out into a spreadsheet, and then we started analysing where the problems were.
And if I've revamped the website once, we've tried about 5 times, and we still can't get to, in my opinion, reach the audiences we need through this website. It's just that a bog standard website, well, it must have been around that circle about 20 times. So I don't know what I need, but listening to you, I think that's what I need.
So I think, sorry. No. I'm interested. Yeah, no, just a quick question.
Separate question.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah, of course.
I love hearing all this stuff, all these positive experiences and all the Scottish Technology about our delivery. And it's obviously impactful. But one of the things that I don't think has been quite teased out yet is things like what comes free in the box, unpleasantly with all of these things, is things like digital security, accessibility, compliance, and then that whole life cycle. Because once the solution's implemented, whether it be a website or CRM, it's a snapshot in time, and it needs that longevity of having constant input and refinement and upgrade, etc. I just wondered if any of the panel rec maybe would want how it leads you some of that heavily. Well, so the database project that we did, we realised quite early on that we need to focus back what data was in, but how data was handled, and the security of it. And one of the first conversations I had, John, exactly, she said, I can't wait to get this, but then how much is it going to cost me to maintain? So that was part of the original discussion. I think a couple of numbers that our mind is reassured quite early on. So I think let's take some website support for
getting it. Difficulties that changes some mediums in the cheap ones. So probably get on the here it's having opened up the door to free stuff to tell them having the big board and so once I found her out, she could marry she was women. And it was simply like random and it is effective soon a lot of time it's commenced. security and integrity is actually the different charity for things. And so I'm perfect. It's signed. Actually, you can both see your systems. It's you can get out lots down. You can make updates and select the by. If people then buy the most of the chains, it's not there, but it's need to. So you need to do then that's is it risk? Is it the market thinking? For me, it's very cheaper. Sanitary. It's dangerous. I did not my government again. And even being you get people want to I would say I think the way that you work with charities, you volunteer students, we work with the charity. So what we're doing is we're saying, as far as humanly possible, we will deliver a solution to you for free. But there might come a stage. So I don't do tech. I outsource all to Scottish Tech Army. But if, for instance, there was a request coming in, but started off as an HR request from an organisation, but it was turning into employment law, maybe in a tribunal, at the very start of this, it could be, if this goes from HR to employment law tribunal, you will need to become a client of the law firm and we'll charge you, cover your Sandy, charity rates. But that's said right up front. And I think you probably do exactly the same. And I think you raise a good point as well about data. I've got a thing at the moment about cyber crime and armies, cyber armies, trying to crack everything. So data charities are are not immune from cyber attacks. So you need to be really careful with the data you've got. So I think can't be the difference. Come up these first sessions. Yeah, keep it. That's you. One.
So the last point for us, the Scottish Tech Army would win that war against cyber armies, right? Because they just had massively tough. But no,
It's all these cyber armies.
Yeah,
it's the size.
Like you said earlier in the downstairs about the title is always quite a good conversation starter. But to go back to a couple of points that overlap, I'm glad from guide dogs for the blind. Somebody on the panel mentioned accessibility, but I think you meant access as in how do we get our services, how people access them. And you mentioned accessibility, but from not about visual impairment, but a broader access requirements. I just wondered how that's tackled. Is there a standard? How do you make sure that what you're doing is accessible to all, whether that be English first language or if you're diverse or visual impairment? Yeah.
So where you were touching on in the last session. Yeah. So
I just wondered if the standards were your expertise.
In the last session, you said that there was a theme discussion within ST about accessibility. So I took it to mean exactly that.
Right, okay. So I guess
I might be wrong. Yeah, and there's something baked into the project with I think one of those I know the main meetings I've had for a couple of months. I was here to guide.
Oh yeah.
It's found where I never realized. So one weekend since that you can mock pages you start to effects instead of the actual checks. Living up Latin like that of stuff. And you just watch you and just you're sitting and jump about but how only team that throughout was the couple for God with the left when in the window is taking off. They didn't have up your right. So probably in was two stand-ups and that was teaching young people what accessibility actually means and actually in music screen readings what they actually do. And it's hard. You're not using them just to bring that forward. But it's that kind of when mitigating in the future. It's something we need to do more in that practice. Definitely not with it.
Not me. I think exactly right. There are standards and stuff, but with a visual impairment, for using a screen, you'll be tired at home and I'm trying to do something and can't my lips, just turn it off and I'll do it because you just get stuck in those standards. Even at work, some of our stuff is you have to. It's not till it's live that you realise it doesn't work. Something breaks along the whole customer journey. If something has happened in that specific scenario, that is, I suppose it's through learning experience. Actually, try a thing that doesn't work, you learn from it. But I just wondered what that was like at Scottish Tech Army because a lot of your volunteers, as you mentioned, corporate or from a different setting where perhaps the compliance is different. Like I don't know, bank apps, some of them work, some of them don't. but that's not their priority. I don't suppose to make sure that it's as
So there's learning on both sides. If it's going to work well, there's learning on both sides. So we've got really nice volunteers in the Scottish, in the Specialist Volunteer Network, got really nice volunteers in the STA. And that is what makes it work, because there's that passion on both sides to find a solution and not impose and listen as well. So anyway, I've listened to lunch. So that's kind of, I'm getting a wee bit hungry now. So the call to action, I think, would be act on what you've heard today. My mantra is, if you need something, ask. So thank you very much.